And the 133, and here we go. You tell us if you feel anything, darling, okay? And you can see I'm just melting away. You feeling it?
Just a teeny bit.
Are you all right? Okay. And the assistant will wipe this off. And it should be just like a laser movement. And if you notice, I don't have a whole lot of smoke. This is a perfect setting right now for this patient. And if I had a lot of sparking, then I would want to turn it down a little bit. Now, one more time to go back and forth over this lesion. And I basically just touch it very lightly to burn it down a little bit. And I'm taking it just very, very, ever so slightly lower than the actual base of the lesion. Now, hopefully gently go to the absolute outside of the skin edge. And this is where my marking pen helps me. And I'll just bevel a little bit so I don't have that steep drop off at the crater. Now you can see on that lesion, and you can see that'll spark a little bit. So that's how we treat that lesion. We're on a setting of 7 on pure cutting. And again, this should just zip through the tissues with no drag. If you're getting a lot of spark, your cut is too high. If your tissue is dragging, and if it's not moving smoothly, then your setting is too low. And you can see we're getting to the base of the lesion. And if you notice my finger rest, if you can focus on my index finger that is under the actual handpiece right here. So I'm doing this pecking maneuver, and I'm going out to where my blue line remnant is, and I want to bevel that a little bit. And if you notice, we're starting to pick up some char on the electrode, and I'll show you how easy it is to control that in a second. Now let's get a really close, touch it a little bit. You don't want to make a crater. And I'm going to bevel the edges just a little bit. Okay, the pathologist. So basically I'm going to activate this and just come very gently through the lesion. Pick up, slide through the lesion. And if you look at the base of this, I can take this on pure cutting, and I can actually use this to complete the rest of the mole removal. Again, my personal preference is the 133, but a lot of people like to use the loop. I think it's very important, again, to use this finger rest, especially when you're using the loop electrode, because you're really holding it in midair. Okay, stop. We're at a setting of 7, and what we're doing is just, you feeling that a little bit? Okay. Can you tolerate that? Do you want me to? And your contact should be very brief. You don't want to channel excessive heat through the skin. And with the ball, you're sort of just making little dimples and then wiping them away. Personally, I think you have better thermal control with the smaller electrode like the 133, but this works quite well. You just have to not leave it contact the tissue because you have more surface area. One thing with the ball, you tend to get a little less of the crater. What I'll do here again is to go back one more time and make these little dimples. And now I've released the skin. It's not on stretch because you don't want to distort your final result there. And we just wipe it down. When a patient asks me how long it's going to take, I tell them about 30 seconds. So I'm on a setting of 7 on pure cutting, and again, I'm not even really touching the patient's skin, I'm just staying on the lesion. And I'm sure she can feel that a little bit. What does it feel like? Is it uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. A little bit? Okay. But it's probably the same level of discomfort as the scissors. This is the last one. So those will heal. And with the orange electrode, this is the new Elman silver alloy electrode, and it really produces even less thermal damage than the other electrodes. And although it's a prototype right now, I think it's going to be very popular. It also takes less energy, so you don't need to turn your skin. Are we getting some good close-up on this? Mm-hmm. Because we want to really get some real tight shots on some of these. Okay. Again, the trick is to always be conservative. You can always take more away, but you can't put it back on. I know I keep saying that, but it's so important. And once you figure out exactly how much to take away, you will be removing lesions with absolutely superior scar result. Good tight shots, I hope. Mm-hmm. I'm going around the base of this lesion, and I'm just beveling the edges so they're not precipitous. I want a tapered drop off and not a deep hole. Okay, stretch it. And since this is not a real deep lesion, I'm going to be pretty conservative and just take this through just like I'd be taking, again, if this was a hot spoon or knife and I was going through a stick of butter. Keep wipe half of it off. And you can see that it's just not very deep. It doesn't take much. So these lesions really do well with just a superficial treatment. Because you can just about scrape these off with your fingernail, and so you don't need to over-treat these. And again, I'll just go over and I want a nice flat base. So I'll just go over here and kind of smooth it down with the little pecking action that we've described. Make sure I don't have any precipitous edges. And that's going to look great.